Welcome back to FBA Capital, and I got here with my friend.
Hey guys, my name's Justo. I'm 24. I'm a real estate agent here in Florida. I'm kind of brand new to it, like maybe a month now, but I'm getting in the game, and
He was also he was a realtor in Philadelphia too.
Yeah, I was a realtor in Philadelphia. Was doing that, like a couple rentals and stuff like that. I'm getting to the residential side with a little mix of wholesaling and some credit. Some credit is good.
I'm not going to get too in depth with anything such as business credit. I'm going to go a little bit into types of credit cards and the rewards. But if you're more like advanced and you already know the basics to growing a credit score, you already have a pretty high credit score, then I would say wait for the next podcast. But even then, this is still going to be beneficial. So we're just going to start off why credit is important. If you want to go why you think credit is important and what you could use it for.
Man, because it's money.
No, that's facts.
Credit is money.
Other people's money.
Yeah, man. You're going to have to use it eventually. If you're not buying something now, you're going to buy something eventually.
And it doesn't make sense because something someone always told me is, would you rather spend your money or his money? And it just makes sense. You're going to rather spend the other person's money and you can leverage their money at the end of the day. So why is credit important? Credit, you're going to need to get housing. You're going to need it to get cars. You're going to need it to basically do all the common things that every human is going to have to do at some point. So if you don't have a credit, it's going to be a liability for you from the get-go. So credit is important and you should start as earliest as you can to get into it. And you need to be 18 to start growing your credit score, but there's going to be ways that you can go about starting younger that we're also going to be going over. But we're just going to start off with the top 5 important credit tips for growing it. Low utilization. You're going to want to monitor your payment history. You're going to want to monitor your on-time payments, and you're also going to make sure that you keep increasing your credit limits, and we're going to explain why. But what would you say your top 3 or top 5 things would be to help grow your credit score?
Man, a lot of people get this confused. Some people think, you just need 1 credit card or 2 credit cards. No, you need a lot of, money because the bank wants to see you know that you can handle a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So have a lot of credit limit. If you're not having a lot of credit limit, the bank isn't going to trust you with, a $100,000 loan, $200,000 loan if they can't see you handle a $2,000 credit card.
No, that's facts. So we're going to kind of go into why each of these things are important and how you can go about using these things to your benefit. So we're going to basically start off with utilization. If you don't know what utilization is basically how much of your card you're using. So let's say, for example, you have a $10,000 credit limit on your card. This is an example. If you're using $3,000 on that card, you're using 30%. Just to keep it simple, if you're using $5,000, you're using 50%. So one rule that you should go by when trying to keep your credit limit maintained at a high score or trying to grow to a higher score, you want to have a low utilization. And by this meaning, you want to at least stay below the 30% utilization for those cards. You can go a little bit above, you can go a little bit under, but ideally you want to stay between that under 30%. And the lower you go, the better you're going to have. I have about, with all my total accounts combined, I have about a 4 to 5% utilization, which is amazing. If you can keep it under 10, you'll have a 700, 750 credit score, and it's only a matter of time at that point. But you want to make sure you keep low utilization. This is going to be one of the most important things, because if the bank knows that the money you give them, you're going to use all of it, they're not going to trust you. If they know you can borrow money from them and you're not going to need all of it, or they know you could pay it back, they're going to be more likely to lend you money in the future. But what would you say about low credit utilization, and how would you go about it?
Man, you hit it right there. Like you gotta show the bank you're responsible. You can't be a kid with a card. If you got 2,000 or even 500, it could be as little as 500, and you max it out all the way to 100%. It's not going to look good. You can pay it off. The good thing is that when you max the card out, as long as you pay it off quickly, that's fine, because it's not going to get reported. But if you leave it on there too long, it's not going to look good at all, even if you pay it back, because they're going to see like your utilization go up. And if it goes up and you pay it back down, that's fine. But you just want to keep it below. I personally like to keep it below 10%, because I would rather, the bank
go wrong with that.
Yeah, the bank see me have 10,000 and I only use 10% of it. They're gonna love that. They're gonna want to give me more money because they know I know how to use it.
So yeah, like you got to keep in mind that if you don't keep a low utilization, you can be negatively affected by this also. If you have a high utilization, your credit is going to continuously go down if it keeps on increasing. If you keep it consistently going lower or consistently at the same, your credit will either go up or is going to maintain. But if you're consistently spending more than what you need to and you can't pay it back, then you're simply going to have a low credit score. And this is what affects a lot of people because they spend more than they have. Another tip is you shouldn't spend money on your credit cards that you can't pay off. Simple as that. They're not giving you money. You have to pay the money back. That's another thing people tend to misunderstand with these credit cards. They're giving you credit, yes, but if you spend it, you still have to pay that back. It's not money that you're no longer going to have to pay. So you got to keep that in mind because a lot of younger people, they get high credit limits because banks are going to give you these limits. It depends. But if they do that and they spend a lot of that money, their credit is immediately going to go down. And they might not even necessarily know why because knowledge is key. And if they don't know these key things, they're going to be affected by these in the long run. Yeah, credit is going to be important.
Don't go crazy with it. You know, if the bank, look, you can go to Capital One. They literally could approve a criminal. They approve everybody. Get Capital One card. If you get 500, don't use it all up. Use it responsibly. Use it for gas, something, small, because you only got 500. Right? So you're not going to use the whole 500 on everything. Use it on gas, something, start small. And then as you wait 6 months or something, apply for another card, apply for your bank's card, whatever. And then you're going to have more credit limit. The more credit limit you have, the more you're going to be able to use. So focus on having more credit limit.
And we're going to kind of go into that next. So we talked about why you should keep a low utilization and what percentage you should keep it under. Now we're going to go over credit limits and why they're important. So what your credit limit basically is how much money you have access to on that specific card. If you have 5 cards with all of them having a $10,000 credit limit, you're going to have $50,000 in credit total within those 5 cards. If you have 2 cards with 5,000, you're going to have a total of 10,000. But for each card, you want to try to get your highest credit limit possible. And this is something that you could do by paying on time, having the low credit utilization, because if they know that you're likely to spend a little bit of the money they give you, they're going to be more likely to give you more. That's what you got to understand. They're going to look at it as if I give him $1,000 and I don't pay it back for 3 years, what is the likelihood of him giving me that $1,000 again compared to if I would have paid it back immediately or if I would have spent a little bit and then paid him back the difference?
Never.
Exactly.
Nobody would trust you.
Never.
Ever.
So credit limits, how would you go about increasing them? Like I said, keep the low utilization, and you want to make sure you pay everything on time or early, never late, because this is what banks are going to look at. They're going to look at how often you pay your debts and how much of these debts are you taking. If you're taking out literally everything possible, they're not going to trust you. Simple as that. It's a trust game. Your credit is representation in numbers of how much a bank is willing to trust you with giving money. That's really what it is.
100%.
So keeping these credit limits higher is going to help you keep a low utilization, because if you have a higher credit limit, you're not going to need to spend as much as you need to. So say like the example he said, if you have a $500 card, you're only going to be able to spend about, I say, $50.
$100, something like that. If you want to stay 10%, 50.
And that's not a lot.
Again, it could be below 30, but me personally, again, it's just 10%. And again, that's not a lot. $50. What do you spend this $50 on?
So what I would recommend for people to do when they first start off, so say for example, I'm gonna kind of get into a little bit of a different topic, the secured cards. If you don't know what the difference between a secured and an unsecured card is, a secured card is gonna be more for the people that have a really low credit score or they're trying to start building their credit. So what it basically is you give the bank or you give whatever credit union the money up front, and they'll give you the card, and it's basically security deposit. So they know that if you say use all that money, that they're going to take that money from you. It's a secured card. And unsecured is what you can get 6 to 8 months after having that secured card, is when they actually give you the credit limit without you having to put money down for it. That's what you want to aim for. But in the beginning, you should shoot for secured cards, because that's going to be the only thing that most people can get. And that's how you're going to actually start growing and growing it. And it comes back to the credit limits now. So if you had this $500 secured credit card, you're only going to be able to spend about 50 of those, the full limit. So what I would recommend you do is with that $50, do something as like a subscription, like a gym membership that's going to take the money out every single month, and it's going to pay it every single month. But it's going to be low to the point where it's not going to affect your credit limit. It's not going to really have a high utilization. So if you're able to pay that same thing on time for 6 to 8 months, because this gym membership is going to take the money out on the same days, that by the time that secured card is up or that 6 to 8 months is up, you're going to be able to get an unsecured card, and they're going to actually trust you with more money.
Yep.
My first secured card was for about $200 and about $300. So no, it was 200 and then 500. So I had about $700 in total.
Different banks.
2 different banks. It was like a really small, but that was the best I could do. It was Capital One and then Citibank. I was able to get about $700 in credit total. But by the time the 6 to 8 months was up, my Citi card, I think I ended up closing it, which is something you shouldn't do, but that's a mistake that I learned from.
Yeah.
But the Capital One card ended up going to about 5,000, I think it was. It was either 5 or 4,000 from that just that $500 card. So if you show that you know what you're doing, they're going to be more likely to have a higher credit limit by the time that 6 to 8 months is over. So you can start by having a higher credit limit compared to going from a $500 card to 1,000, because the higher you can get these credit limits, the better your credit is going to be long term. Because if you have that high score, such as the 10,000, and you spend 1,000, that's only 10%. So now compared to spending $50 to $1,000, it's the same percentage. So the same is going to happen to both of those persons' credit scores, even if they're doing the same thing. Just it's a numbers game at the end of the day. So that's why credit limits are important. You want to have the highest possible so that you can have the lowest utilization possible, if that makes sense.
And that you can actually use the money. Because if you only have $500 and you're below 10, 30%, you're not using a lot. But if you have 10,000, you can start actually using it.
Actually, leverage your credit at this point.
That's definitely a leverage. You could use it for business expenses, all that stuff, and then you can pay it off whenever and then write it off.
It's getting others people money to benefit. So it's also good because if you don't necessarily have the money in the moment, but you know you're going to make it, you have another option. You're not going to miss a payment because you don't have the money no more. That's another benefit with credit cards, but just because you can do that doesn't mean you should consistently do that, because that is not what credit is for, and they're not going to trust you over time. If it happens once or twice, they might have your back, but you got to look at it long term. If you keep asking for favors, you keep missing payments, it's only a matter of time before they cancel your whole card, and then you got to start all over, and it doesn't look good on your credit either. So one mistake leads to the next, and these mistakes are going to keep fucking you up long term, if that makes sense.
You want to talk about real quick about why someone shouldn't close their card?
Oh yeah, we can, if you want to go about it. This is why you shouldn't close a card.
Yeah, because I had somebody do that, and a lot of people think like they don't think it's a bad thing to close your card. If you close your card, if you have on-time payments for one card, and you paid it on time for a year, and you close it, all of that is erased. The banks don't see it. So the banks can't see how good you were. They don't see how much credit it was because you closed it. So it's not in your credit report anymore. In fact, it dings your credit report because now you have one less account. So if you have 10 accounts and you close one, you have 9. That's not good because they want to see you have multiple accounts, a lot of accounts, and that you're, reliable. So don't close credit cards. Just, if it's some cards, they got annual fees. Try to, if you're not making money, that's when you're like making money. Like you're making money and you can pay the annual fees. Stay away from those, in my opinion. But other cards, just, don't use them. But whatever you do, don't close them. If you're not going to use a card, if it's like $200, just cut it up or just, whatever. But just don't call and close the account.
Yeah, don't close them. That's a mistake that I made personally.
A lot of people make that though. And
it's because you don't know.
Yeah.
You can't do something you don't know, but that's why you learn from it. And I was lucky enough to do it in the beginning. So even, I had 2 cards. So it's not like I lost everything. I only lost half of what I basically had. So that's something I would also recommend. Don't close the cards, because the more accounts you have, the more of a cumulative credit limits you're going to have in total. But now we're going to go into on-time payments. On-time payments is in the name. You just want to make sure you pay everything on time. And this is going to be another major component to why you have a high or low credit score. If you're paying every payment on time or early, it all comes back down to trust at the end of the day. You're going to be more likely to be given more money in these credit limits. And that's what you want to do. You want to build trust with the bank, because if they trust you, you're going to be good and they're going to make sure they take care of you. But if they don't trust you, what's the word I'm looking for?
You're gonna send off like a bad impression to all the banks. It's not just that one bank, like if it's Capital One and you're late, and then you try for Wells Fargo or Chase, they're gonna see that. So
all the banks, they talk to each other.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. You should know this, but if you download Credit Karma, I guarantee you, like, it's gonna tell you to like every single metric of what's good and how much they weigh each other. So like on-time payments, accounts, they're weighed, so like of importance. So that's a good tool to use and to like, keep track of that. Like just go Credit Karma and then make your on-time payments.
There's a few apps you could actually use, such as Credit Karma. There's Experian. There's
TransUnion,
Mint. There's a lot of ways you could check
all
your
that.
credit. So if that's actually something I wanted to go over a little bit later, but we can just go over now. You got these few apps, and these apps are going to actually help you maintain these high credit scores, because how are you going to maintain a score that you don't even know what is? You got to know what your score is. You got to know when it's going up, why it's going up, why it's going down, because that's how you learn. If you don't know why your scores have been going up, how are you going to continue to do the same thing? You're not going to know. If you know what you're doing is working, then you're going to continue to do it. But if you know what you're doing is not working, you're not going to want to continue to do it. And you're not going to know that until you actually sign on to these apps and actively check your credit score, because your credit score is like money in the bank. You check your money in the bank every time you get paid. You should be doing the same thing. This score is going to be important to getting cars that you want, houses that you want. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have a good credit score, you're not going to have nothing. You can have all the money in the world to get a house, penthouses, cars, but if you don't have a high credit score, they're not going to trust you, because you have all this money with no trust. And that says a lot. If you have the money and they still don't want it, that tells you how important their trust is.
Yeah, they're symbiotic, like one has to go with the other. So if you make a lot of money, but your credit score is bad, like it's gonna be real hard, unless you're just gonna be basically paying everything cash.
And you don't want to do that.
So like, yeah, you don't want to do that because that's not leverage. You want to leverage your money. So, and if you have a great credit score, but you don't make money, or you don't know how to make money with your credit score, then, you just got a good credit score.
Yeah, it's nothing. If you don't leverage it, it's just a number that you're not using. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to leverage it. And you can leverage it with different types of credit cards that offer you different types of rewards. So if you don't know, there's credit cards that will actually give you rewards for spending money, such as travel points or even cash back. So basically, what will travel points be is every time you spend money, a certain amount of money, you'll get basically a percentage in points. Everything is a little bit different. Certain cards are different, but for the most part, just know if you spend money, you're more than likely going to get a little bit of points for it. And if you keep spending, those points add up to where you can eventually use those points to book a hotel, or use those points to book a flight to somewhere. You're basically getting rewarded for spending money you would already spend it. Same thing with cash back. Just say you have a card with a cash back of 3%. So every time you make a purchase, you're going to get 3% cash back. So if you spend $100, you're going to get $3 back for that $100 that you spent. Where if you spend it on a debit card, you would get nothing. You spend $100, you get nothing. The money's gone. Like $3 isn't crazy, but it's better than nothing. Those points add up. If you get $3 here, $3 here, $3 here, that's $9. You can go buy a sandwich now. Compared to the debit card, you would have got nothing for it. So that's why having these credit cards with rewards are going to be so important. And that's why having a high credit score is going to be important too, because you can't even access some of these cards without a certain credit score. You're not going to be allowed. They're going to deny you. Sometimes they won't even tell you why. So now that we're going over certain things on how to keep and maintain a high credit score, you should now be able to go in the future, 6 to 8 months, apply for these types of cards that you can actually get you utilization from. You're not just having a card to spend money is where you're getting nothing. And at least now over time, you'll be able to benefit from them. And that's why having these rewards credit cards are going to be important.
The travel is going to be most important too. Like we talk about, the cards that give you a couple dollars for dining and stuff like that, or gas. When you start traveling, that's when you really start leveraging it, because now you get free flights, nice hotels. You could be members of American Express, all that good stuff. So it is a big benefit if you know how to use it.
And keep in mind, the more money you spend, the more points you're going to get. If you have a high credit limit, let's just say, not everyone's going to have this. Say you have a $100,000 credit limit. If you're spending 10% of that's $10,000. If you're spending $10,000 on a monthly basis, you know how many points you're going to rack up over those months that you can then use for ads. There's a lot of stuff you can use for ads, and that's something I don't even want to get into right now. But you could ads. You could use those points for traveling. You could use those points to get cash. You could use those points to buy clothes. You could use those points to do a whole bunch of stuff. So the more money you're spending on these cards, the more money you're going to get back from this. So the sooner you start, the sooner you can start getting to the point to where you'll be able to have this, because not everyone's going to be able to get thousands of points, thousands of dollars in cash back right away. But if you're doing the right things in life to where you can make more money to then leverage this credit, this is something that you're going to be able to benefit from the rest of your life. You're going to be able to pass it down, because credit isn't going to go nowhere.
I'm going to touch on that real quick. And another thing too, like don't be so much as like a consumer, guys. You can use your credit for your business too. And like he said, clothes, you don't have to think about it like, oh, these nice pair of jeans, $500 jeans. No, you can think about it like clothes for like a business presentation, clothes for, content, or
write-offs.
setups for your business. If you have like camera setups, lights and stuff like that, use your credit card, bang, and then pay that back off, because of the money,
All this was bought on credit cards.
because of the money that you make from working,
Like
don't
here's
just spend the money, don't just spend the credit card and don't work, because that's where you're really not gonna,
that's bad.
you're not gonna make the on time payments and all that stuff. So
Like having credit is good because another thing you got to look at it as, even if you have the money to spend, you don't have to pay it right away. And that's power right there, because I was able to buy a whole bunch of stuff equipment wise, and I have to pay it off a month or two after. And mind you, here's a little tip. I have a Best Buy credit card that I've been buying a whole bunch of equipment with. And here's a little thing. When you buy certain things over a certain price, you get 12-month no interest on these things. So I can rack it up to a certain point. Now, mind you, the utilization is still going to be there. So what I did is once I spent thousands and thousands on my Best Buy credit card, I paid half of it off, and now it's at that 15 to 20% utilization. I'm just leaving it there for the 12 months because I don't have to pay for it because it has no interest. And that's only something you're able to do with a credit card. So say now, with the thousands I spent at Best Buy with all the equipment, imagine how much money I can make with it within that year to then pay it back off times
pay
10.
it back off, yeah.
And I was able to do that just based off of knowledge, understanding how credit works, and understanding the benefits that credit could give you. But also, anyone could have did that. But if I wasn't smart enough to pay half of it off, my utilization would have been going up that whole entire time. So instead of me benefiting from it, I would have been negatively being affected by it, because my score would have went down because of how high my utilization was. But guess what? Since I bought everything, paid half off, I hit the on-time payment, my utilization is low, my credit went up from spending all this money, and now I'm going to be able to make more money with this equipment to then pay that off. So you got to look at it like that. If you're smart with it, you can use this money to benefit you and make you more money. But it comes with knowledge.
You gotta be responsible. You gotta do your homework. We're like that word responsible. People are like, oh, he's saying like he's my dad or something. But like seriously, like if you got a lot of money, because if you're not responsible with money, you're not gonna be a millionaire, or you're not even gonna even. Forget about being a millionaire, like just getting by.
If you can't maintain a credit card, you're definitely not going to be able to maintain millions of dollars in a bank account.
Too. Like, you did a show about discipline. How much, like, if you got a lot of money, but you're not disciplined, you're going to spend it, on whatever you want.
That's why
you're going to be, ruled by your emotions, your all of these things that, you got to control. And
that's why a lot of people that win, like, say, lotteries, they end up losing the money because they weren't disciplined in the first place to even make that money. So now that they're getting it all, they don't have the discipline to do what the people that actually made the money and actually know the importance of the things that need to be done to make that money would do. Because when you're just giving money with not having to work for it, you're not going to appreciate it. Same thing goes for any content or anything. If you don't pay for the value, you're not going to appreciate it. If you don't pay, here's a little quote I heard in a song, you got to pay for the game so you appreciate it. And that's facts, because a lot of the things I kind of went over this in last podcast are free on YouTube, but people don't take advantage of all the free content. All the stuff I have up here, I learned on YouTube. And guess what? I'm putting it on YouTube again to teach other people. So the content is definitely out there, and there's a whole bunch of people repeatedly going over it. So if you're not taking advantage of it, then at the end of the day, that is something that is your fault, and you can't blame anyone else for it.
It's free game, guys. Times are changing. Everything's on YouTube.
Everything.
Literally.
I promise you, everything's on YouTube.
Sandwich.
How to
unclog a toilet, how to cook. Everything is literally on YouTube. Like, I am not joking. Literally, I was actually watching this video. It was about getting on YouTube, and they were like, you could YouTube right now, like UPS driver, and there's literally someone on YouTube making money. They got like 100K subscribers or something, just showing how they do UPS, their drives and stuff like that.
Is anything.
So, like,
if you're willing to watch it, they can make money.
Just watch it. Go on Google, go on YouTube, and say how to do this.
There's kids on YouTube just unboxing toys with millions of subscribers. There's people doing ASMR where they're talking like this, making money from it.
I've seen chicks out there. They're just, But that's the thing. Like, some people might be like, "What? That's crazy." But they have like 100K subscribers. They got comments. They got fans. They got all these things, and it's like there's an audience for it. You know what I mean? The world, it's like 8 billion people, on this planet. So like,
you might feel some way towards it, but at the end of the day, if it's working, you can't hate on it because it's working. You can't hate on a blueprint that works. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we went over low utilization, why it's important, what you should keep it as, payment history. Well, I don't think we kind of went over payment history. You want to go why having a lot of payment history is going to be important?
Yeah, because I'm 24. I had a couple cars, like, and you just make the on-time payments because they're gonna see, a car is like that much closer to like buying a house, right? Like the car is like second, and then the house is like the big thing that the banks really see. But if they see like how to like make on-time payments on your car, your credit cards, you know, uh, things like that, you're
I
gonna
mean,
be in
that's
a good position with the banks because they're gonna you can't not only are you gonna be able to go in the bank and say I make on-time payments, you're gonna be able to say you can pull my credit score up and they're gonna see that you're gonna have on-time payments. So it's not just like talking it. You're gonna have proof, and that's the best one you can have. Like,
and it also comes back to like we keep on saying trust. If you have a lot of payment history, you're gonna have a higher likelihood of continuing to have a lot of payment on time payment history compared to someone that has only had a credit card for 5 months,
yeah,
but they're paying it on time. They might be paying it on time for those 5 months, but compared to someone that has had a card for 20 plus years, 15 plus years that's been paying it on time, there's two different types of things. There's short term, but anybody can short term pay stuff on time until something happens.
yep,
But if you show that you can do it long term, a decade of it, that's showing actual proof that you know what you're doing and you have payments and you have what is it called files to back it up. You have all of this data backed up from over the years and years that you're doing all this on time. You're paying it on time. You're keeping the utilization low. But if you're only doing it for say 5-6 months, they're not necessarily going to trust you even though you are doing what you should be doing. So it comes down to time at the end of the day. So you could be doing all these things correctly, but if you don't have a credit card for a certain amount of years, it's not going to matter. So that's why it's the best advice is to start as soon as possible. And this leads back to something I was saying in the beginning is advice that we would give for people to start growing their credit score while they're under 18. So I would let you do it because you kind of went over with Alex and how you can go over kind of how you helped them because
yeah.
you start before 18.
It was super easy. Look, I mean, it's gonna be best if you have a job. Like, I mean, most people they can actually get their parents to put them as an authorized user on all their cards. If your parents got like 5 cards, say, Mom, put me as an authorized user. Dad, put me as an authorized user, because you're gonna adopt all their credit history.
Only do that if they have a good credit score.
yeah,
If they have it bad, then that can also negatively
For sure,
affect you
yeah.
also.
So like, if
Be aware.
if your mom and dad is irresponsible, you might not want to be on their, you might not want to adopt their credit history. But let's assume they're responsible and stuff like that. Then you're gonna gain all that credit history. You're gonna be able to apply for bigger, like, well-known banks and get approved for a lot of money, which is a good start.
Based off the fact that you have history from someone else. So I'm gonna go over kind of what happened with me when I
Yeah,
first,
you got a lot of experience on that.
because when I first started trying to build my credit, I was 17. So before I was 18, I knew that credit was going to be important, and I knew the importance of having credit. So I started learning it early. And this is something I recommend everybody to do because you should be prepared when the time comes, and instead of unprepared and then trying to figure it out. So what I would advise people to do is when you're 17, 16, try to get on the authorized users account of a responsible parent or just any family member in general. It could be a friend,
Someone you
it
trust.
could be anybody.
Yeah.
Now, also here's also free game. You could pay to get authorized users. So if you don't have someone that you got for free, you can then pay on certain websites to do it. So my recommendation: find someone for free so you don't got to pay for it.
For sure, yeah.
That would be your best bet. But if you don't have that person, then you can always pay to get put on these trade lines. I'm pretty sure they're called trade lines, right?
Trade lines, yeah. But let's say you don't have somebody you trust, or you don't have the money for the trade line, or you don't have responsible parents or stuff like that. Just get a job. You gotta work, man. Don't act like you can't, like, at least work a job. Get a job. You're gonna have money coming in. You can get a secure credit card. I know somebody who's got about like 20K in cash, but they don't know what to do with it. If you don't know what to do with your cash money, just put it on a secure credit card, because then you have
get the money back. By the
you
way,
have a $20,000 loan to yourself. You get what I'm saying? So, like, if you have cash and you don't know how to use it, or you're not sure, let's say you get your paycheck and it's $1,000, you got no bills or anything like that, put $1,000 on a secure credit card. Now you have a $1,000 secure credit card. This person I know has got 20,000 cash, doesn't know what to do with it. That's the key. Like, if you know what to do with it and you're gonna do something, and you know what to do with it, then go ahead. But if you don't, go to a bank, walk into Chase Bank, walk into Wells Fargo, say, I'm going to put 20K on a secure credit card. They're going to give you it like right away, and you're going to basically have a credit limit of 20,000, and you can always pay that back. Your cash didn't go nowhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you're paying that back. That's your money. You know.
The thing with the secured credit cards is in his name is secured. So that money you're giving them up front, if you do what you're supposed to do and you don't fuck up the money, they will give you that money back because that is your money. And basically you show them that you're responsible and now they can give you an unsecured credit card. But yeah, that's what we would recommend do. You got to get on authorized users. And that's what's really going to boost your credit. I remember I started off maybe in the 600s, 700s just because I was able to have an authorized user before starting. And mind you, here's another tip.
I was at like 590.
Because mind you, here's another tip. Get on your grandmas. If your grandmas or grandpas have a high credit score,
Because of their old age.
because they have more history.
They got more history.
I got 9 years on my history.
Yeah.
I'm 19.
You put it on your grandma?
I put it under my grandma's
Why
and
not?
my dad's. So I got both of their history. Mind you, I've only had a credit card for maybe 2 years now.
You're
So it's about to be-
19, you know?
And my credit score has hit 775. I hit it a few months ago. I'm back at I'm almost at 780 now. So it fluctuates over time, but that's because you learn things over time.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was able to get that high score in such a fast amount of time based off the fact that I knew that these authorized users will be able to benefit me. And mind you, them authorized users mixed with low utilization, mixed with on-time payments, mixed with having a lot of payment history, it all comes full circle and is like a big, literally like a cycle. If you do all these every single month and you just learn, you have a routine, you pay it the same day, it's all recycled. It's not hard. The knowledge is, learning it is going to be the hardest part. Once you understand it, it's easy from there. Don't spend a lot of money, pay on time, don't be a dickhead.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pretty simple.
Don't be afraid to, like, once you get a card, wait 6 months, then maybe 6 to 8 months, apply for a different card. You know, you got to be in the game. Don't get stale. Don't just have all these cards or just have one card and then make on-time payments for 2 years. No, because you're wasting time. Because like you can be applying to the banks. Because again, guys, every time when you're applying for something, it dings your credit. So you want to apply for it in a short period of time. You know what I mean?
And that comes into something that we're going to go over is when you want to get a lot of credit cards, you don't want to apply to them all separately because you're going to keep taking individual hits. Here's another tip. When you want to apply for a card that you know you're more than likely going to get approved for, you don't want to apply for something you know you're not going to get approved for. That's stupid. So there's certain places like Capital One in the world, they'll pre-approve you beforehand so you can kind of discover. So here's what you will want to do. Apply to all the credit cards within maybe a 5-second span. Open a whole bunch of tabs on your computer and apply to all of them at the same time. So when it all goes through, it'll all be together, or 1 or 2 credit checks compared to maybe
it's not gonna
7 or 8.
Yeah.
It's gonna help you dramatically, and this is gonna also help you get those high credit limits because now you have more cards. And here's another tip: do it all with the same bank because same banks offer different cards. And if you know you're more likely to get approved at this bank because you have a card, you know that there's a higher likelihood that you apply for the other ones that you're gonna get approved for them compared to applying to 8 different banks. Because certain banks are not going to approve you just because they offer or they want certain requirements that other ones aren't going to require. Because, say for example, a Capital One card compared to an Amex card, they're not going to have the same people applying for them because they offer 2 different things and it's 2 different demographics of people.
Yeah,
so the same
quality,
person that has a Capital One card, they might not necessarily be able to get an Amex card right away. But I have both, so it's possible over time. But at the end of the day, that comes with everything.
Read it too, like skim through like what you're applying for, because sometimes they'll have annual fees. If they have it, like you might not want to like do that unless it's like $30. If you
it depends the card though too, because certain cards you'll get the rewards for it that will end up paying for it. Because on my Amex card, I have an Amex Gold card. I think it's like $295 annual fee, but we get about $300 in rewards. Not even counting cashback that they actually offer you, such as like Uber Eats, stuff like that, Uber, that they make up for that annual fee. So even though you are spending $295 a year, you're getting rewarded back. So that $295 might go into Uber Eats for the whole year for me, something like that. So there's certain cards where they'll make the money back and the actual annual fee will make sense. But then there's certain cards where it makes no sense, where you're paying $100, no rewards, and you basically have no credit limit, no high credit limit.
Make it make sense. Just make it make sense. If it makes sense, do it. If it doesn't, don't.
And do your research. There's a whole bunch of videos, like we say on YouTube, where you can look up these cards. You don't have to. You're never going to be confused on a certain credit card because if you're looking at it, someone else has it, and more than likely there's a video on if it's good, how they benefit from it, or how they don't like it. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there. You got to do the research, put the time in, and do the due diligence to then understand what you're getting yourself into. But that's what I would say is how you would grow your credit score under 17. become an authorized user on your parents' accounts, and follow these things after you get a credit card. So once you have the authorized user, there's only so much you can do now. You just gotta turn 18 and actually apply for the secured credit card. Yep. Or even then, if you have history, you might not even necessarily have to get a secured credit card. That's another thing. You might be able to automatically get an unsecured credit card without putting money down based off the history of having these authorized users. So that's something that is a tip that a lot of people don't understand. And if you can start off without having to put money down and starting off with a higher credit limit, you're going to be better off than majority of other people. You're going to have a higher credit limit than majority of other people. And if you have a higher credit limit than majority of other people, you're going to have a higher credit score just based off the fact that you'll have a lower utilization, you'll have more on-time payments, and you'll be paying everything on time. It's just all these things, they come in full circle, and that's something I'm going to keep reiterating because it's simple. The simple things, will benefit you tremendously.
Yeah, the credit's been a long time. Like, credit didn't just happen, Credit was back then too. Like, people, it's trust. That's what credit is. At the end of the day, it's just trust. So the bank, the person, whoever, if Dre lends me money, $100, and I don't pay him back, like the same example he was saying, that's what it is. That it's trust. So just don't complicate it. Make it easy. Low utilization. Don't spend more than than you can even afford.
Doesn't make sense.
Fine. Yeah. Credit limits, all that. Have a high credit limit and just make your on-time payments.
Facts. And
make it easy.
I'm going to kind of go over a few starter cards because I know a lot of people are going to watch this that don't necessarily know a lot about credit or they just want to start credit. So if you follow the things that we've already said, you're going to be better off than the majority of other people. And mind you, it gets deeper than this. There's so much money in credit that we're not like. There's business credit that I'm not going to even go over in this video because that's a whole different beast. Once you understand credit and then move to business credit, you're going to be a demon. Simple as that. But there's a few starter cards that I would recommend for everyone that I started off, such as myself. I started with a Citi card. You could also start off with a Capital One. They approve a lot of people. Discover It card. That is also good. The Apple card. Some people get approved for it. Some don't. You ideally want to have, I think, like a 650 or above. If you have maybe a 680 to a 700, you're more than likely going to get approved for it. And the Apple card is good because if you spend a lot of money on Apple, that is something you could benefit from, such as me. I have 2 Apple computers, 2 Apple phones, have 2 iPads. So what you could do is you could spend money with Apple using their card and you'll get money back for it that you wouldn't necessarily get for spending your hard-earned cash. And that's why having these cards are going to be important because you get rewarded for spending the money that you work for. You don't want to why would you give yourself the option to spend the money and get rewarded for it and spend the money and not get rewarded for it? It just doesn't make sense overall. So that's what I would say. Starter cards, Capital One, Citibank, Discover It. Do you have any other ones that you recommend?
I'm a big fan of Capital One. Literally, like I said in the beginning, like they'll approve a criminal. That
was my first card.
Like, seriously, man, they'll approve you for like $300. You make on-time payment 6 months, then they'll bump it up to $500, and you didn't even have to. We should. I don't know if you want to touch on that too, like asking about like credit limit increases.
Yeah, we'll go over it.
But yeah, they'll do the increase for you. So you have 300 with Capital One, make on-time payments for 6 months, they'll boost you up to 200.
But yeah, basically, another thing earlier we were talking about the importance of credit limits. Now, we might not necessarily have high credit limits right away, but there's things that you could do that over time you can get the higher credit limits. So with all those 5 things that we said that are important with growing your credit, payment history and having those on-time payments is what's going to help you get that credit limit higher, because these are all going to be all things that they look at to see if they trust you. It all comes back to trust. If they could trust you, then they're more likely to allow you to have more money. And how would you go about requesting a credit limit increase? Depending on your bank or depending where you have your credit card, you might be able to do it just on the app on your phone, such as Capital One. You could do that, or they might do it for you. So such as Apple Card, Amex,
Apple
and Capital One, they all do it for you.
Most of them do it. Yeah, most of them do it.
They do it at some point. So if they see you're doing good after those 6 to 8 months, they will increase it themselves. So that's actually something I didn't know at first. With the Citibank card, if I probably would have kept it for a month or two, they might have increased it for me and gave me my money back for that secure card. But
that's the one you canceled. Yeah, they
Citibank.
probably would have. How long you had it for?
Like 8 months. It was taking a while though. That's why I ended up canceling it.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh, they might not give it back. But it was something I learned in the beginning is you don't want to have a lot of credit cards. That's something I thought was right. I could have been using that card.
You're not the only one. A lot of people think, because you got a lot of people.
I think it's something with parents too. Parents don't get a lot of credit cards.
You've got a famous guy, Dave Ramsey. I mean, he's just telling people basically, because he knows people aren't responsible, so he tells people to not use debt. That's what Dave Ramsey.
That's
tells
good to the average person.
Yeah,
That's good advice.
yeah. That like it's not like it's bad or good. It's who is it for? Who's that information for? Is that if that information isn't applying to you, then maybe it's not good. But he's basically telling people that you shouldn't you should just cut your credit cards up. Don't use debt. But you got to be responsible for it because these guys who are millionaires, they got all this real estate.
All credit.
They're using debt. You know what I mean?
Like you gotta keep in mind. At the end of the day, it all comes down to leverage. That's really what this all comes down to. You have credit cards to leverage. You want to be able to leverage stuff. And if you have high credit scores, you're going to be able to leverage stuff in real estate, which is where a lot of people use this debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. You want to be able to make money from your debt. If you're not making money from your debt, then it's just an unnecessary debt. So such as, say, college isn't good if you're going to go get a job, go pay for a degree that you're going to come back to the real world and not use. But if you go pay for college, get into debt, use that degree to make that money back, that's good debt because that's debt that you're going to eventually end up paying off from what you paid it for. But if you're paying for something and not using it, that's bad debt, such as maybe a car. But it depends. At the end of the day, a car could be a liability, but if it's making you enough money to pay for that car and pay it all off, then it makes sense to have that certain debt. But there's good debt, bad debt, and you want to differentiate from the two. And basically,
I like how that's like a known thing, like bad debt. When you think of bad debt, it's like college. Because like nowadays, like if people aren't making money off of them going off of school, they're doing it in other ways. So unless you're going, to college, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're gonna pay it off with your profession, with whatever you're going to school for, fine. But if you're going there for, liberal arts or something, and then you're not gonna have a job that's gonna pay for it, then
doesn't really make sense.
That's bad debt.
Like he said earlier, make it make sense.
Yeah, you gotta make it make sense.
You want to leverage your credit to then benefit in the real world because there's so much money you can get from using leverage. If you're able to leverage, say, in real estate, you would only have to put a certain amount of money down of the building's worth compared to paying for the whole thing. So there's so much you could do into that. And this is going to be a video for either someone trying to grow their credit score from that's a little bit lower or someone that's just starting. This isn't going to be for more like an advanced person. These are simple things that most people go into. I'm going to have an advanced podcast later on about business credit, more about specific credit cards with rewards points that you can actually benefit from, actually using credit to then benefit and use it for your business, such as I am now with all this equipment that I was able to buy, such as that. And
real estate, man. Like that's a killer, guys. Yeah, like the banks do it themselves. Like you don't go in, you go into the bank to get a loan. They're using their own, they're gonna put it on the property as collateral, but they're gonna get their money back, some way or another, because they put it on your property. That's what the mortgage is.
All that money that's in your bank account, they using it right now.
Yeah,
they gonna give it to you when you need it, but they're using all your money right now and putting it in stuff that's gonna make them more money so that they could pay you back, and then keep money profit.
Yeah,
they're benefiting from us, so they provide a service to then go do their own thing. It is what it is. It's life. You got to know the game. If you know the game, play it, and you're gonna win. If you don't know the game, you're simply gonna keep losing. Learn the game. It doesn't make sense.
Don't quit. Like, don't opt out. Don't say I don't want to play the game because that's you're not watching this video because you're gonna quit. You're watching this video because you want information.
If you're watching, you obviously want to grow.
You're trying to do something with your life or get by. You know what I mean? Like do something big, but don't quit. Like, don't just say I'm not gonna play the game and then go live. Some people are living in RVs and stuff like that.
You'll learn the most from your failures, and that comes down to anything. Learning about credit. If you have a skill set, you're learning. If your job, your business, the more you fail, the more you're gonna learn. Because if you fail a whole bunch of times, you're gonna get a whole bunch of feedback on what doesn't work. Simple as that. If you fail 1,000,000 times, you're gonna get feedback 1,000,000 times on what doesn't work. Compared to someone that gets really lucky and on their second or third time they succeed. They're not gonna know what doesn't work. So they're going to have to fail a whole bunch of times in the future. Regardless, you're going to take losses. You're going to take the same amount of losses now that you will later. If you get lucky now, you're probably going to take those losses later because you didn't learn in the beginning. It comes full circle with everything at the end of the day.
Just take the L's early. Just get it out the way. Get it over with. Learn it. Don't be afraid.
Take it to the chin.
Just take it to the chin. Take the L's early. Like if you mess up on any of these things, you learn. You know what I mean? Rewatch the video. Do your research, but just get in the game. Don't opt out. Don't get scared. Don't get this analysis paralysis where you just want to know everything before you get started. Just take the video and take action, step by step.
That's the main thing. Take action. You could watch this video, but if you're not going to implement the things that we're giving you, then it's not going to matter at the end of the day. information that you're eventually going to forget about.
Yeah.
If you, I should put this at the end, like this screen that we have, just so they can kind of have an idea, like notes, if you get what I'm saying,
Yeah,
if they didn't write notes. But yeah, that's basically really it for the most part. We went over the top things that you should be doing to keep a high and maintain a high credit score. You want to have low utilization, ideally below 30%. But if you can keep it below 20 to 10%, that's going to be amazing. You want to make sure you have a lot of payment history, meaning you want to apply for more cards over time and continue to pay those cards on time for as long as possible, because the longer you have it, the more likely they're going to trust you over time. Then that comes into the on-time payments. You want to have credit limits that are high. The higher your credit limits is going to be better for you overall. The higher credit limits you have, the less money you're going to need to spend, and the more likely the banks are going to be to give you more money. And then authorized users. This is another key thing. This is what's going to help you build your credit. Authorized users is going to help you gain the history, the on-time payments, and the credit limits from these other people. So those main four things that you should be basically focusing on, you're going to get from someone else. And you can do it from multiple people at that. But I think you can have 3 authorized users total, and I got about 2.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to have someone like that, like, you know, trusted, and they could put you as an authorized user, do it. That is like the easiest way to get in the credit game.
Simple. That's how I got into it, and I went from about a 75 credit score to like a 775 just because the authorized user. I remember when I added my dad as authorized user, my score went up 80 points just from him.
Everyone should do it.
Just from him.
If you have someone that you can get put on as an authorized user, they're trusted, they have good credit history, you know, they're not like, you know, like doing crazy stuff with their cards, then yeah, get added on their authorized user.
Simple. And another little thing, if you have kids, put them on it as early as possible, because the earlier you do,
yeah,
and if you're being responsible with your credit, they're going to also benefit from it. So not only you're going to benefit from having good credit, if you put them on early, years are going to go by that they're going to have that history. And you know how good that's going to be for them?
You're going to help them out. You're going to give them a head start
at life.
Because at life in general, because all these other people that don't have they got to start like from the bottom at 600, 650, whatever. They're boosted up, depending on how good your credit is, to like the 700 range all the way up. And they just turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know
That's
I mean?
how I was. If I didn't have my parents or grandparents actually doing the correct things, I wouldn't have been able to benefit from them. So from their hard work, I was able to benefit from them. And now I'm going to be able to teach people like you to then benefit from. It's all full circle. Those were the main important things that, in my opinion, are going to be the most important for you to grow your credit score and maintain that high credit limit. Not credit limit, credit score is all. You want to get high credit limits and credit scores at the end of the day. And it all comes back down to trust. Your credit score is just a representation in numbers of how likely a bank is going to trust you. The higher, the more likely they're going to trust you. The lower, the less likely you're going to have trust on your side to be able to get money for loans, cars, houses, all the main things that you need to be able to live.
100%. You're going to use it anyways. You know you're going to use it. Everyone's going to use their credit card.
It's going to get to a point where all you're going to need to spend is on your credit card. You won't have to spend your real money. You're going to spend other people's money. And it doesn't make sense. If there's one thing I want you to say to yourself after watching this video is, do you want to spend his money or do you spend your money? Simple as that. And whatever your answer is, that should give you the conclusion on what you should be doing in the future. And if you're under 17, you know what you should be focusing on. If you're 18, you know what you should be doing with these credit scores. And even if you have a bad credit score, or even if you have a score that isn't the best, there's always ways to go about it. There's always things that you could do to improve it that you should be doing and focus on.
Another thing too is like, don't get, because I used to stress out about this. I don't know about you, but I used to really stress about like not like having all these credit card like debt, like just seeing it on my phone. And then like, damn, I'm in debt. I got to pay this off and stuff like that. Worst case scenario, just make the minimum payments. Yeah, your utilization goes up, but if you see Credit Karma, that's even in credit in general, that's utilization is like not heavily weighted as much as all the other stuff. So worst case scenario, make your minimum payments on all your cards. You know, it could be like $3,000 total as long as you make your payments. Yeah, your utilization went up, but at least what's worse, a late payment or high utilization?
It's better to have a late payment. It depends on what though too, because the value of that late payment. Say it's a car payment.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I would not want to have a late payment. I'd rather have like if I'm just talking about credit cards, I'd rather make the minimum $25.
Utilization isn't gonna kill you. If it goes up by a few percent, you might not really even get affected. But if it goes up by a lot, that's really gonna where it's gonna affect
it's not
you.
gonna
Say
be
by
if
10,
you get
50%
if you
above.
get a late payment, like late payments, you don't want
Your
late
score can go
payments.
down. I think Alex's went down, but how many points when he
A
I
lot.
think
It's like 30. Like
it was like 30,
but
40 points.
you know, the good thing though is like his is at like 7 now, but it's on his credit report. But what he could do is he could pay somebody. You can obviously pay someone to talk to the credit bureaus. You can actually do it yourself.
Mhm.
But if you just want to
you
pay
know.
for somebody to take it off your credit report, it might take a process or something. You can get it off, but you want to still like stay away from it. Like again, you were talking about the other show, like discipline. Have discipline so that you
Comes
don't
back.
have to go
You
through
need
that.
discipline with everything.
Full circle.
Business, your car. It's a concept you need in overall life in general. Yeah, I think this is going to be good for anyone trying to grow their credit score. This is going to be the most important stuff. Other stuff doesn't really necessarily matter, and growing your score is going to be what you can actually use the credit for now. So once you take these steps and actually use them and implement them, you're going to then be able to watch the next video in which you can learn about the rewards point cards that you'll be able to apply to, that you'll be able to get accepted for now, that you'll be able to take these loans out. You'll be able to get the nice cars. You'll be able to get the nice houses using your credit, or you'll be able to get the nice equipment for your business using your credit. It's all about what you can do and what you can leverage your credit for. If you're not going to leverage your credit, it's useless at the end of the day. It's just nothing.
Yeah, think about what you're gonna use it for. You got all this. You got good credit, 800, whatever it is. What are you gonna use it for? If you want to buy equipment for your YouTube. If you're gonna use it to invest on some fees, some expenses on your real estate business or whatever it is, whatever business you're doing, you're gonna have expenses like upfront costs. Put it on a credit card and work at it, and then work the business, make it work, make your business make money for you, and that way you'll be able to pay your credit cards off. The banks are gonna see it, they're gonna trust you, they're gonna love you, and they're gonna give you more credit. They're gonna give you more money towards the credit cards.
Facts. And
Another thing too, guys, is like when anything you do is gonna drop your credit score. So for example, if you go to apply for a car, or you do anything that's a soft pull and stuff like that, your credit's gonna go down by a little bit. Don't get scared. It's gonna go back up. Like it's gonna fluctuate. The key is to not have it go 20, 30 points down, maybe even 10 points. Like if you're doing like your high utilization, like above 35% or something like that. If it goes down, 5, 10 points, don't worry about it, because it's gonna go back up as soon as you pay it off.
it's just like everything.
You work it out.
Everything has its ups and downs. Life happens. You're going to spend a little bit here, a little bit there, but your credit, you don't want to see it majorly affected, because if it's a small drawback, you can make it back times 2. Simple, by doing the simple things that we went over. But a little gem that I have for you guys is getting a high credit score is easy. Maintaining it is going to be the hard part, because now you got to consistently do these 5 steps that we gave you guys. Getting it is easy. You can get a high credit score just by getting authorized user by itself, not spending no money, just no cards. You can have a 700 score just based off of other people.
Yep, done.
But if you don't maintain it and do the things that you need to do correctly, then that score is going to consistently go down, or is going to make a major drop if you spend your whole credit, if you use your whole credit limit on one purchase or something. It's going to go all the way down. You're not going to know what happened based off the knowledge that you don't have. So that's a little gem. Maintaining it is the hard part. Growing it is the easy part. But
Good thing too, like I was talking about like the closed accounts. It's not just the cards. Like for example, I got a friend. He went to school. He's got this loan, his debt, and I think he reported it like it wasn't him. Like so they took it out his account,
the debt,
but then his points went down by like 20, 30 points. It was I think it was like 50.
Damn.
No lie. It was like 50 points.
He
It went
thought
down.
he was being the system.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, because that means that never happened.
Yeah.
So whatever that was, that means
The loan was helping him in a way.
Yeah, because it's a loan. I mean, you gotta take the L for taking the loan in the first place for school. Don't do that unless
Yeah, so he took the loan, took the L, then got rid of it and took a L.
Yep, he took 2 L's.
Double whammy. Yeah, don't close shit. Don't try and beat the banks, because they know what they're doing.
In a way, he was saying like that it kind of helped him because it took it off, but it pulled you back a lot.
It might have helped him, but now he has to go through the time of getting it back.
And it's time, man. Yo,
Time is everything. Time is everything.
Is time money or not? Like time is money.
Time is money.
So
him here, this isn't free. He could be at work or something getting paid. So time isn't free. You work for time. You get paid by an hour. Shit.
Yeah.
Tells you something. But yeah, that's really it. I think if you follow these simple tips that we gave you guys, you will be able to grow and maintain a higher credit score, and you shouldn't really have any problems. What you're really going to struggle with is what you should use your credit for now. That's going to be your main
Yep.
problem. You're not going to be, oh, how do I get a high credit? You're going to have such a high credit score, you're not going to know what to do with it. And then you're going to start how to leverage credit, how to get cars to do this, how to get real estate and then leverage Airbnb. There's a lot of stuff you could do,
Yeah.
but it all comes down to having the knowledge to do it. So that's
that
really it.
business. Yeah, find that business that you're gonna use to pay back, the credit that you're using.
Yeah, I wouldn't, if you're looking to start a business, I wouldn't use your credit to start it unless you are really confident in it. But
Right.
wait until you have the confidence to put the money into a business that you have a high likelihood to make the money back. Because at the end of the day, you can use this money to benefit your business, pay for the business. But if you lose money in that business and then you don't have the money to pay it back, you're still gonna have to pay those cars back regardless if you try to use it for your business. It's still gonna be,
Make sure it's a sure thing. Like make sure
or you just make sure you have the money to the
don't
side.
don't open up a lemonade stand and then use your credit card for that, and then you don't make no money off the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
Like make it a business that you've done your research on and you're confident in yourself, like that you're gonna make it work. Like you know. And if you, worst case scenario, have some pillow money, some money that's gonna help you pay it off.
Best thing to do is it comes down to just not spending money you don't have. If you follow that concept with everything, you'll be good regardless. If you follow these rules, you'll just have a high credit limit, high credit score, low utilization, and that's really it. So, with that being said, I appreciate everyone for watching it. Appreciate my man's Justo for being here. If you want to put your Instagram,
Yeah, guys, you can follow me, Justo Figuereo. That's JUSTOFIGUERO.
yeah, make sure you follow him. He'll be able to give you some gems here and there about that. So make sure you follow him. Appreciate him for being on the podcast. But with that being said, hopefully this information we gave you guys could benefit you, because nonetheless, this information works. It's not something that doesn't work. All these things that we're telling you is known. You can look it up. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. You're going to find all the same things.
Nope.
It's all on YouTube. The only thing I would say about YouTube is it's not going to be organized. The information's there. It's just not organized. But this video is kind of organized on what you should do and why it's important, the reason behind it, and the solutions behind all these things. So with that being said, appreciate everyone for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the episode 1 if you haven't already. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at I am Andre Diaz on Instagram. Make sure you join the Telegram chat. That's going to be in the description. Also, make sure you just click everything, look at all the videos, and if you're into trading, make sure you check out the trading videos, trading live streams, all of the above. But with that being said, appreciate everyone for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.